Good morning, everyone. I'm Marquise Navarro. This is coaching. This is the coaching. This is a very difficult title to say. I'm not going to lie. But I love the name of our podcast because this is coaching. This morning I'm here with two awesome coaches, Nicolette Moore and Monica Riva, as usual. And we are going to talk about something that I think everybody deals with on a regular basis, whether they want to admit it or not. And that's working through being overwhelmed, or the feeling of being overwhelmed, period, and how we get through it. I know for me, I've had several instances, especially after I retired from the military, of feeling overwhelmed. More so, I think, than when I was in, which you would think, really? That doesn't sound right. 23-year career, you'd think you'd have a lot of that. But looking back, I think that kind and this kind were completely different. Not working for someone, trying to create something new, and then the feeling that you've got all this stuff just kind of piling on you, right? And you have to maintain. And because I am, the man, right? I gotta be able to keep going without losing my shit, if you will, and still provide for the family, or at least be there for the family, right? And that takes its toll. So I think, it's a very good topic to talk about because we've all done it, regardless of who we are, where we are in life. It's going to hit us, or it has hit us multiple times. Like, what do you think about that, Nicolette?
Well, I'm right in the middle of the throes of overwhelm. Like, I feel that so hard. Being my last month of pregnancy, got 4 children at home. I'm working. I've got clients I have to deal with. I've got a family I have to please. It's like, it's a lot to deal with and juggle. And so I'm feeling that I'm right in it. I'm right in it. And, it is something, I believe that it's a given for being human, and it's a blessing, right? It's like, it's really awesome when you have things going on, right? And you have challenges set before you that you need to navigate. But at the same time, seeing it as a blessing or seeing it as a gift can be challenging, and living through it and dealing with it, and not being triggered constantly. Because overwhelm will definitely lead to a more higher tendency to get triggered. What was the question?
No, that's a great answer. I think you're right. Like, it is difficult to, like I said, to maintain, right? And you're going to feel it. Of course, when you're pregnant, and I've never been pregnant, truth be told. I don't know if you know that, but I can only imagine, but I do have kids, and I know what, my wife went through. So I can relate, at least outside. What about you, Monica?
Yeah, I can relate to. I mean, I have 2 girls. They're grown now, but overwhelm, and it's part of being pregnant, and it's also part of life in general. Everybody gets overwhelmed now and then in any kind of situation, and you might not even realize that you are overwhelmed. You just feel totally tired, like me too today. I felt also so overwhelmed and so out of it. I'm preparing for Christmas, and here Christmas in my house is a big deal, and there's a lot to prepare. So today we were stuck in sugar and and egg white. So I had to take a shower to get out of it. And I just had to leave the house because I was just so overwhelmed over the whole Christmas thing even too. So yeah, overwhelmed just comes at you. And I didn't even realize that I was overwhelmed until I was outside in the woods. And then I just had the possibility to finally breathe again.
So that brings up an interesting point. Like, it's crazy because you think it'd be obvious, right? Because you're going and all this stuff is coming at you, whatever it is, at whatever time, and then it takes like a split second of relief to make you realize, like, oh crap, like I was at a bad spot here for a minute.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and then you're like, okay, now I can relax and move on, right? And I think that awesome segue, so how do we deal with it when we're overwhelmed? And I think this goes back to the being self-aware, because that is a huge thing, like we've talked about previously, about knowing yourself and how to talk yourself or maybe coach yourself through certain things. And sometimes you can't coach yourself through it. You still need help. I know for me, there's a point where I'll get stressed out, or I got a lot on my plate, and I'll reach out to my buddy, my best friend Rich, and just kind of unload on him. That way, I'm not unloading on my wife, because she's got a lot to deal with. She's still active duty, and she's actually contemplating retirement. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go to my best friend and hear what he has to say. He's either gonna tell me I'm in the right path, or suck it up, press on. He's going to be very honest with me. So I think that's why we're best friends. He's not one of those. He doesn't tell me what I want to hear all the time. I know he does it sometimes because he's still my homie. But yeah, I think for me, I do have to talk it out with somebody, and to know that the feeling I have is normal. I'm not either one overreacting, or two, I'm not the only one going through it, right? Because a lot of times you like to be able to relate, or have somebody that relates to you and say, you know what, I've been there, I've done it, you're going to live. And then it gives you a little bit more motivation. So how do you guys get over just the feeling of being overwhelmed?
I love I love what you just pointed out so much, because there are multiple ways that we can handle any kind of distress we're under, right? And there is an element of self-responsibility that we all need to learn how to embrace. And so working on the quality of our thoughts, working on our awareness, becoming aware of the things that are overwhelming to us, or do put us in that state of overwhelm, stress, distress, whatever you want to call it. It's so important. And I love the idea of self-awareness, because you don't know what you don't know. And it's such a profound statement to really think about. You don't know what you don't know, even about yourself. And so working on the self-awareness is huge. I love that you have a friend that is there for you, that will call you out on BS or will challenge you. I think that's so healthy and so important. And really and truly, that's what a good coach does. A good coach is going to challenge you, challenge your beliefs, challenge your assumptions. Because I personally, over the years, I've learned not to go to friends and not to go to family whenever I have issues. Because when I do that, they tend to, they love you, they want to be on your side and be your cheerleader, and they'll typically take your side or take your position and kind of add some fuel to the fire by agreeing with you, or saying, how dare this situation, or oh, you need to rest, or you need to do this, or whatever. Like, they do whatever they can to kind of boost your sense of rightness or validate your feelings. And I don't find that that's always healthy. I find more often than not, it's probably not healthy, to be honest. And so I will lean on people like you guys, or fellow colleagues that I know have a more mature and an ability to challenge me. I love being challenged. I prefer somebody to just challenge the shit out of me instead of just like tat me.
Sure.
But then if I don't have somebody to reach out to, and I can't get through my own thoughts, one thing that's really helpful too get to that place is journaling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's something really powerful about writing down all the crazy in your head, all the stress, all the things that are just like filling the headspace, and just getting it out. Even if you burn the piece of paper, right? There's something powerful about getting stuff out of your head. And really, an element of that is just having time by yourself to sit and reflect on what is going on in your mind. So those are some things for me that are powerful. Going, if I can't sort through my own thoughts, going to someone I trust to challenge me, not validate me, and then journaling just to get stuff out. So what about you, Monica?
Yeah, I journal about it too. I write down everything, and sometimes I just don't want to read through it. So yes, burning it is a good way of releasing the thoughts that I have. But another way is also to look upon it as if you were somebody on the outside and see sort of what would you have told this person yourself if you had been your best friend.
Yeah, no, that's that's a good point. It's something that you said, like the cheerleader, right? And your friends and your family. It's almost like talking to your grandma or your grandfather. They're gonna be, oh, it's okay, pat you on the head, and then you end up staying in what I, consider a victim mentality, in my opinion. So you're like, okay, I've been consoled, and that's good, and now it's okay to come here again, right? And loathe and be that, I hate to say it, kind of pitiful person for a little while. But that's kind of where you go at times when you're overwhelmed. It's a pity party for you, and it doesn't help, So, like, yeah, great, great point. The journaling, I think that is awesome as well. One thing that I don't do it personally, but I've heard it's tremendously helpful, and that's meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know a few folks that meditate on a regular basis, and I don't know about you guys. If you've ever tried meditation, I've tried it, and I always feel like, am I supposed to float, or I'm not sure what's supposed to happen here. Um, so, it's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I think I saw somewhere, and I can't remember where it was, like meditation is just sitting down in a quiet spot and letting your thoughts just go for it. Because a lot of people try to control what they're thinking about, and they can't. So it's kind of like a mental journal, if you will. You just kind of letting everything just go nuts while breathing deeply and try not to fall asleep. But I heard it works. I heard it works great. So I would recommend anybody that was looking to do that. Well, first off, don't come to me to ask how to do it, because I don't know. But there's folks out there that can help you with it. And there's actually meditation coaches. Like, they
I would
walk you
probably
through.
need one of those ones too, because I don't know how to do it either.
Yeah, I'm like, all right. Well, first off, I don't sit crisscross applesauce very well. I got bad knees. So I'm like, what do I do? And it would help to have somebody that was a professional help me through it. But
Y'all are funny because this is a case in point of feeling like there's rules that bind you to a particular thing.
yes,
And though we can't realistically sit here and say, hey, we're meditating together, right? Because what we're doing right now is not meditation.
right.
But what's interesting about meditation is it's so similar to so many other categories of life, in that there are multiple ways that you can approach it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've tried quiet meditation where it's just myself. And I heard once from a Buddhist monk who he said, meditation is not about emptying your mind. It's about, just trying to still your mind. So trying to still the thoughts and not necessarily erase them, just get to a place where the chaos can kind of be calmed down. I've also heard, I personally do best with guided meditation. So when I listen to somebody and they tell me what to do, I'm like, okay, I can work with this. But your mind will still wander. And so in those instances, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. You're a freaking human with a lot of thoughts in your mind, right? So it's okay. But in those instances, the idea is just to be self-aware, right? It's so elemental to be self-aware. So being aware that your thoughts are starting to drift from the guide, right? There's a guide here, you're drifting. And so it's just like, oh, I see myself going this direction. I'm supposed to be going this direction. Let me bring it back in. And that's really like what guided meditations will help you do, which helps you in all the other areas of your life, kind of like, oh, I'm losing focus, come back, Actually, I'm glad you brought up meditation, because meditation is, we lost Monica for a moment. I'm sure she'll be back. Meditation is a really, it's a powerful way to help. When we were talking about triggers in the last episode, triggers come from your reptilian brain, right? Your amygdala going like, going crazy over something. Sorry. And it's been proven. Hold on, let me take a sip of water. I just inhaled liquid. I'm sorry. It's been proven that just doing small stints of meditation, even just meditating one time, will help to lessen the amygdala response.
Yes.
So the people who tend to practice meditative activities more often are the ones that they will have a better handle on their amygdala response. So they'll be less likely to get triggered and to be affected by all the crazy that life throws at you, simply because they're helping to reduce that stress response that happens in the system. So meditation is really a powerful tool, and it doesn't have to follow a particular rule.
Yeah.
Right.
And so for the longest time, like I thought that was the case, right? You had to do a certain thing and be a certain way while meditating, right? So I never did it. And then after a while, I tried it. I would do the sleep, before I go to sleep, just throw on some headphones and listen to some guided meditation, and I'd wake up feeling, pretty good. Now, would you say those that meditate would be less likely to have that overwhelming feeling?
I think I think it's certainly, they're going to have a favorable advantage.
Nice.
Right. Not that they're necessarily never going to feel overwhelmed, but they will know how to center themselves better. One of my favorite one of my favorite gurus, so to speak, right? He Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you ever heard of him?
I've heard the name, yes.
Okay. I love him. I love him because he's very he's practical, he's scientific, but he's also fascinated in the metaphysical. So he does meditation workshops, and he actually studies the brain and what happens in the brain and the body as you're meditating and as you develop better meditative skills. He's a fascinating man. Definitely look him up and check out his work. But somebody had asked him once, here's this man who runs these meditation workshops. He talks about the power of the mind, the power of our thoughts. He talks a lot about neuropsychology and neurobiology. I've learned a lot about the way my brain works just from listening to him and attending his lectures and following his work. Well, so somebody asked him once, do you ever get angry? Because you seem to put these people on pedestals, like he's now superhuman, right? He does all this work. He's got to have his emotions on point. He's like, no, of course I still get angry. Of course I still get triggered. Of course things still happen to me that set me off. But the difference is that, and this is him speaking, I'm the difference is I can rein it in. I can come back to center a lot faster.
Right.
I don't let it own me. And so I think that that's a powerful realization for all of us, that if we work on just stilling our minds, or we work on things that make our minds healthier and make them function more efficiently, then it's in those small moments have big returns.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I know for me, I have my moments, depending on what it is. Like, and there are times when I think there's a lot of factors that go into it as well, right? Mental, physical, everything, diet, what you eat, drink, how much sleep you're getting, how rested you are is going to affect how you react to certain things. And for me, I know there's days that I'm better than others.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I've tried to do with that self-awareness is acknowledge when I've fallen off that track, right? And I think that's important, because if you just try to go on, like nothing never happened, that's not a good thing. But if you can acknowledge it, 1, 2, not beat yourself up about it, and 3, if it affected someone else, if you can talk to them about it as well, i.e., sorry, I didn't mean to snap at you for X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
So that day it wasn't your fault. Matter of fact, I actually went through that after my first deployment. So my first deployment my first deployment with my last career field. So when we're downrange, we do a lot of outside the wire stuff, talking to people that are potentially, insurgents, leaders in the area. And I actually had the chance to have some fun, go out and pick up some bad guys. Good times, right? But, a couple of things happened on the deployment there and back home. I missed the birth of my son, ended up having to come back like a month early as a result. But when I came back, I felt it was just weird, right? And one day I'm doing this interview and I'm going to meet a doc at the clinic on base. And the lady asked to see my ID, and I'd already showed her my credentials, right? And she asked to see my ID, and I flipped out on her. Like, total asshole move. And got back, did the interview, and I'm sitting actually in the waiting room waiting for the doc to call me. And I'm sitting there and I'm like rocking back and forth. I'm like, why did I do that? That was God. So after the interview, I actually went back and I'm like, ma'am, you had no reason to get that from me. I am totally sorry. I apologized. But I think while I was back there, she called my boss. Turns out they knew each other. And I believe he explained certain things that was going on in my head, right? So that was my first time at being like, this happens. You need to acknowledge it, and you need to go back and make things right. So my self-awareness journey, I think, started right then and there. Mm-hmm. And I was actually pretty late in my career. And I think if I had started it earlier, I think I would have been able to deal with what I was feeling after my deployment way better. So I'm actually thankful and regretful for that particular moment at the same time. I still feel like that poor lady. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure she understands, and I'm sure she has dealt with probably worse than what you handed her.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not like I cursed her out, but there were knife hands and dirty looks. So, she's just sitting there like, and she's a civilian. She's not in the military. So here's this guy, standing like a dang drill sergeant. If I had the brimmed hat, mm-hmm. Literally it looked like I'm leaning forward like a Michael Jackson video. And yeah, God, I felt like such a dick. So anyway, Welcome back, Monica. I know we lost you for a minute, but glad you came back. We're just kind of talking about, as a result of everything, it's easier to deal with being overwhelmed if you are more self-aware. And it's not a perfect thing. Like, everybody is going to go through it regardless of how well-trained they are in breathing, meditation, self-awareness. So yeah, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, sorry, I lost you for a minute too. Just wonder what happened here. The power went off. And but what I do, self-awareness is also important. I started really late too with self-awareness. I'm not that into it yet. I mean, I still have to catch myself to stay self-aware. And so I know that so many people actually struggle with it. I tap. I do tapping when I feel overwhelmed and I need sort of to get centered again. Because tapping, you tap on meridian points. You sort of touch, like, it's like a acupuncture thing done with your fingers to just touch your face and you talk about what's going on, and that's sort of also a great way to get rid of all the overwhelm and the emotions that you have. And I go for walks in the woods, and they say that go out and look far. Don't look at the things closest to you, but look far ahead. And so you can, it's sort of a way of seeing the bigger picture, I suppose. And it gets you into at least it gets me into a more stable place, and I can deal with bigger situations, situations that feel bigger than me, in an easier way, more constructive way.
I like that. The looking out instead of, like, we were just hiking the other day, and my son, no, it was my daughter, asked, "Why are you looking down?" And I realized, like, I was missing quite a bit of the scenery, but I was looking down because I don't want to bust my butt because it was kind of a rocky path. But yeah, I'm like, it's very interesting, from the mouth of babes. Like, why are you looking down? You should be looking up. Look at everything you're missing. And it wasn't until she said it, I looked up. I'm like, it is kind of pretty out here. The whole point of the hike, right? To get out and to see some stuff. So yeah, and the tapping. So I think, and we could probably do a complete podcast on the various methods of centering and like, kind of, I like to call self-soothing. When you're a baby, they say leave them in the crib. They need to learn how to self-soothe, blah, blah, blah. Certain moms are like, nope, that's not a thing. I'm going to pick up my baby. But, there are, as adults, there are certain ways that we need to be able to self-soothe, right? Put ourselves back on track. And sometimes we can't. And that's why we have people like us, coaches. And there are different types of coaches. I think the three of us are a prime example of that. I think we all have different coaching methodologies, different practices, and ways of doing things. So, yeah, I think that'd be awesome for another podcast, just talking about that. I know we put out the very first episode of This Is Coaching that we did as a team of 6 before, and that kind of lays out what coaching is. But I think we could talk about various methods. That way people who may be listening know that, well, we're not the only 3 coaches in the world, although it'd be nice if they thought that. But, so yeah. So I think, you got anything you want to add, Nicolette?
Well, I thought it was cool that you brought up meditation, Marquise, and then Monica brought up tapping, because, and speaking of self-soothing, and not to take away from a potential future episode, but we can still talk about it again. One hybrid of the 2 concepts, especially, say you're in a meeting at work, right? You're at your 9 to 5 and you're in this meeting and there's people all around you and you're feeling triggered or stressed or overwhelmed or whatever, insert emotion here that you don't want to feel, right? A hybrid of the two, because it would be weird if you start tapping and talking to yourself in the middle of the meeting, right?
Yeah.
It would be equally weird if you like close your eyes and you just tune everyone out, right? That's not very like practical. Neither one are practical or socially acceptable, right? In the moment. So a good hybrid tool or technique that you could use in a situation that you can't necessarily go call your coach or reach out to a colleague who will challenge you or help you talk through things, or you may not be able to journal in the moment. So a really good tool that you could use is just kind of finding a meditative space by using touch. So something you can do is just take your fingers and your thumb to any of your fingers, whichever one feels best to you, and just start kind of doing the like violin, the little mini violin thing on any of your fingers. And just holding your hand under a table or somewhere where nobody can see what you're doing, but just focusing your attention on the feeling of the texture of your fingers. It might sound silly, but it helps to take your mind off of whatever is kind of causing the crazy, because you're focusing now your attention on feeling the texture of your fingers, skin on skin. Can you feel the ridges? Can you, and it just helps to kind of take your mind out of the crazy zone. And you can do it anywhere, no matter who's around you. And you can do it while you're talking, right? Like I'm sitting here and I'm doing it. I might not be able to focus 100% because I'm still talking and, your attention gets diverted, but it's just a little hack that you can take, kind of a hybrid approach when in situations where you may not be able to meditate or tap.
I like it. So
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
I know that you can tap on your fingers as well. Like there are certain places on your fingers, but you still need two hands, and it's awkward sitting down there and so just moving that's so much better.
Yeah, it's just simple, but the whole purpose is to help take your mind away from whatever has enraptured it, right? and taking a little bit of control back. So, little hack there to help
definitely could have used that. Several meetings that went way too long because there's always that piggyback to the piggyback to the piggyback, as somebody said. No, I like that. Yeah, so I think the overall topic for today was actually a pretty decent one. And I think everybody can relate to it. And I'm pretty sure we'll mention it again because like they all kind of coincide, everything we've talked about so far is definitely something and of course we end up talking about being self-aware. And I know there's going to be questions. You guys keep mentioning self-awareness. How do we get there? And I know that's probably going to be a longer conversation for another day, but looking at overwhelm, everybody experiences it some way, shape, or form. There's different methods of getting over it, getting out, taking a walk, and focusing on the future path, if you will, as opposed to what's right in front of you. Journaling, and one thing I've learned from journaling is a lot of guys are skeptical about Dear Diary and that whole thing, but that's not the thing. It's not what it is. It's just writing down thoughts and feelings. Yes, the dirty word for men is feelings, but it helps. And meditation. And if you don't know how to meditate, there's definitely somebody out there that can help you to do it. So yeah, I think overall today was a pretty good topic. You guys want to add anything at closing?
Nope. Just if you want to reach out to us, you have any questions, anything specific that you'd like us to cover or talk about or discuss, or coach you through, you could either show up on air. We can schedule something like that, or we can just, anonymously address your question. Write to us at thisiscoachingshow@gmail.com.
Anything to add, Monica?
No, that's fine. I now know I several ways to deal with. It's going to be a lot of in the coming weeks. So a
Awesome.
lot of
Well, as
great
usual,
tips today.
yes, as usual, I love hanging out with you guys, and we always have great discussions. So yeah, until next time, everybody that's listening, hit us up. Everything that you send us is confidential, unless you tell us, you're going to jump on the show with us to be coached, and that is an option. So until next time, Nicolette, Monica, thank you. Now I'll see everybody later.
Bye.
Bye.